Welcome to the Geek Girl Story Salon, where I talk to creatives from across disciplines and across the world about the art of storytelling. I'm your host, Jen Jackalone, lifelong storyteller and head geek in charge. We've got some great guests coming up, like Cullen Bunn, writer of the Harrow County Comics, and Star Trek writer Una McCormack. So be sure to smash that like and subscribe button to stay up to date on the heaping helpings of brain food coming your way, courtesy of our partners fleetoffandoms.com and Ilva Publishing, an independent publisher for women's fiction. My guest today appears to be collecting sci-fi genre cred like Funko Pops, Star Trek, Wynonna Earp, Killjoys. She's been a fan favorite in all of them, and I suspect she's just getting warmed up. So we're going to talk about her surprising journey, her relationships with her various characters, and how she uses her social capital to support causes she cares about. Welcome to the salon, Rachael Ancheril.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so nice to be here.
Yeah, well, it's great to finally meet you. This has been like a year in the making or something.
Yes.
It's great. You're actually one of the first readers I got of my poetry, and that was kind of how all this started. It just snowballed.
It's been amazing, even though I'm totally on the peripheral, to see how much you've done in such a short amount of time. So it's an honor that I was Numero Uno. So it's great. Cheers to that.
Cheers. Well, honestly, this all sort of snowballed. And really what happened was I started connecting with people, and I started this as an excuse to talk with all these awesome people who are doing stuff, and mission accomplished.
Well done.
Thank you. So I just want to start by saying something. I have a friend recently. I had someone say to me, I love the way you just decide you're going to do something and then you just do it. And I thought that was a really funny thing to say, but then I kind of thought about the fact that a lot of people just don't do that. They get stuck in a track and they don't ever change direction. They don't, they sort of don't launch. And I kind of feel like you also are someone who just decides to do something and then just does it.
Thank you. I feel like that's a great compliment. It's sort of like that saying, I'd rather regret the things that I've done than the things that I didn't or I haven't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because now, like, I have sort of the pieces of the mosaic here in terms of all of the things you've done. So maybe, I don't know if you can arrange them for me a little bit. I know that you did go to art school because you didn't want a proper job. I know there was some sort of, do you have some background in law enforcement? Is that true? Okay. And somewhere in there was maybe a brief brush with corporate life. Is that true also?
Yes. Yes, it is true. Okay, so I'll try. I'll try to give you a Cole's notes.
Okay.
I really wanted to go. My grandparents were really great, and they introduced me to the theater at a young age and consistently. Mm-hmm. And this theater in the town that they lived in was attached to this arts high school. Mm. And so as a kid, I was like, I want to go to that school, just because I think I had such fond memories with that theater. And I tried to get into the drama program 2 or 3 times. I can't remember how many times. And it was no. So my mom said, well, because you really want to go to this school, try your hand at, you might as well try all the programs. Try to get into drama, dance, art, music. Luckily, I got in through visual arts, which is shocking to me, but not so much, I guess. And then I kind of abandoned that all because I wanted to get into law enforcement. So grade 12, grade 11, grade 12, I wanted to get into law enforcement. And I think that's because I wanted to work with animals. And I had grown up with animals. I grew up with, we had horses, we had big dogs, Great Danes. So the thought of incorporating that love of animals into my life and not being a vet, because I don't think I have the heart or the stomach to deal with that. Law enforcement was kind of a good fit, because I really wanted to do canine unit, and I really wanted to do mounted unit, and mounted unit especially because that was for me that was like a bridge with certain communities. There's nothing like an animal to bond people, animals are, as most people know, I am in total love of all animals. So, but then I got into a car accident. I broke my leg, and and so I kind of switched gears a little bit, and I kind of lost my nerve for law enforcement because I realized, like, with an accident in a split second, your life can change. And I think this is why I have a lot of respect for law enforcement professionals, is because every day it's you don't know what to expect. However, so then I thought, well, I did arts in high school, and maybe I love fashion illustration, so maybe I can draw for designers. And then I went back to school for fashion design because that's what you have to do. You have to know how garments are made. And is hideous at that. And I ended up in the corporate world, and I hated it, and I wanted out. So I thought, well, I can do commercial prints. I got big lips. I can be a lipstick model or something. I can do something like that. So this couple agents were like, no. And then one was like, yeah, but you ever tried acting? And I was like, oh yeah. I got denied into this arts program like 2-3 times. I don't know. She goes, let's give it a go. And then it I was still working other jobs, but then started getting jobs, and they started happening more regularly. So I thought, well, I really love this. So I started taking classes, and I think because I didn't go to theater school, I have a bit of a complex too, where I feel like I need to learn everything. So if my library was actually put together, which I'm in the process of doing right now, seriously, it's a mess downstairs. I could show you like every book on acting, because I just thought, well, and then here I am, lucky to be one of those people that can make a living, pay my bills off my art. So yeah, it's not that I went into the arts program to not get a real job. I actually fully intended on getting a real job, but I feel very fortunate to be where I am, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, but that's what I'm talking about. It's like there's just this vibe of, you kind of just go for it, and that gets you pretty far, actually. I mean, talent has to be there too, but but just sort of having that drive to just kind of run after stuff, and so like when you decided you were really going to go for it with the acting, like you read the whole canon, and you did Stanislavski and Stella Adler and all that jazz.
Yeah, I didn't study anything seriously. I just kind of took from what made sense to me throughout all of those. And I also had some really great coaches. One I've had for a long time, and it's been a while since I've studied with her, but I'm starting that again because you can always keep learning. And so I think it's just finding what works for you, There's many paths into everything, and
you can say that again. So the focus of this pod is storytelling, and this is a question I like to ask actors, and I've not yet gotten the same answer twice, which is, how do you think about the actor's role in storytelling?
I think it's so speaking of picking up pieces from different acting instructors, and I remember reading David Mamet, and Mamet was like, an actor's supposed to show up, you read your lines, and that's the end of that. And I was like, ooh. And I get that because there's a big respect for all the people. I mean, especially with Trek, all of the people that come together to make that character. So I really, I really honestly don't even know what I'm doing half the time. I think it's all these elements from all these different departments: hair, makeup, costuming, the writers, the directors. I feel like I rely a lot on all of those people. And then that informs, and then it's just like a go with the vibe. So I don't know necessarily exactly what my role is in the storytelling, but I know that I am a spoke of many on the wheel that makes it turn.
I like that.
Is that fair?
Yeah. The Christina Tonteri Young from the Netflix Warrior Nun show said that she thinks of it like you guys are like the point of the pencil, and there's all these other things that go into making the pencil. You got to get the rubber to make the eraser and the metal to put the eraser on the thing and the wood and da. But we still need you guys to put the story into the world. And I like that was so cool, right? Oh, isn't that great?
So good.
Love that.
Thank you for sharing that. I love that. I'll never forget that now. It's terrific.
Right?
Yeah.
So, all right. So we're going to talk about your characters because they're all great.
Thank you.
It's sort of a well-known story that Nhan was originally supposed to be a red shirt, and you came in and you made her a fan favorite. Were you given any more of her backstory than we as the audience were given?
No.
Nothing.
No. I don't. To my knowledge, I wasn't supposed to be around for that long. Yes, Connolly, the blue shirt, that was in the cards that he was going to be taken out for sure, and that I would be the surprise that actually, she survived. And then, I did my 3 episodes, and that was great. And I left, and I went to do Killjoys, and then they reached out to my agent. They were like, "Oh, we want her back." And so I don't even know if they knew what they were going to do with me, because I think it was sort of maybe surprising to everyone that Nhan was kind of cool and interesting, everything, the fact she was a Barzan. And so that's such a neat part of the history, and, a red shirt and Enterprise. And so I think all of it was surprising to everyone. So I think I got the info as the writers got the info, you know what I mean? As they.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you hear a lot about actors. You hear a lot of actors talk about the little stories they tell themselves about their characters in order to bring them to life. Did you have any little stories that you told yourself about Nhan, or little things that you just sort of headcanoned that were probably true about her?
Okay, again, because she was such a surprise, I think for me, different characters give me different things, if that makes sense. And Nhan, again, because she was such a surprise, it was difficult to sort of, so I relied very heavily on any law enforcement training or security work I'd done. I kind of just fell onto that because I figured she's there to make sure everything's okay. She's like one of the hands of Pike, just in case. At the time when I came on, I don't know if a lot of people know this, because I've been called lieutenant a few times. I'm like, whoa, do not bring me down in rank. Nhan was originally a lieutenant, and then became a commander when she became chief of security, I think. So yeah. So lieutenant. Okay, so I'm lowering the ranks, and I'm here with Pike, and so I just fell on body posture. Yes, Captain. Whatever you say, Captain. And that was pretty much it. I feel like these answers I'm giving you are very lackluster. I apologize.
No, it's, I mean, it's interesting because everybody's process is a little bit different. And, like I interviewed Jade Taylor the other day from The Magicians, and she talked about that too, where like when she was getting into that character and finding her way in before she knew anything even really about the character, she was like, okay, so what is her physicality? Like, what is her, and I think that that's a pretty normal way to go about it when you, especially like when you don't have a lot of background about the character, and
Yeah.
you had this law enforcement training, and you were able to bring that in, and and that made it great. But okay, I have another question though. Did you secretly decide that the D stood for something?
I didn't. I thought that I would find out actually what it stood for. So I thought I'm not going to put anything in my brain that because when you have expectation, like I know it's just a word, a
Mhm.
name, but I didn't. And then I never found out what that stood for. You're gonna have to take that to Alex or Michelle or Tunde or someone, because and then when you find out, let me know. Let me know.
I don't know. I think we should ask the fans to just vote on it and
Let
christen
me
you.
know.
They
Yeah.
should. That's what we should do.
Okay.
That's. I think if Alex and them were gonna give her a name, I think they would have done it. I think the job is gonna have to fall to us.
I'm here for it. You let me
Okay.
know.
Okay. Um, okay, so and what about I want to talk about Maddie the Blacksmith, and Wynonna Earp. What
Maddie.
can you tell me about Maddie? Because she's another one, like it was not like a huge part, but everybody like bonded to her character and remembered her.
There was someone actually that I'll never forget this post on Twitter. I it still makes me laugh to this day.
Mhm.
They were like, you know, fans, bring back Maddie the Blacksmith. And then fans, for season 2 when Greta came around.
Mhm.
No, not like that. And I love that because I was like, I think even my expectations when Greta happened, I was like, oh, and then I was like, okay, she's not the nice one.
Mm.
I loved Maddie. I thought Maddie was so cool. Um, I had a lot of personal stuff going on
Mm.
at that time, and the cast was really, really great to me. They made me feel really, really at home. So I loved them all right from the very beginning.
Mm.
Mel and Dom, my heart forever.
Mm.
Maddie was, yeah, she was fun, and I love that she blacksmith. Because here's a little fact that some people might not know.
You blacksmithed for a while too.
I learned how to blacksmith. I mean, I can start a forge, I can operate a forge, and I can make a nail and a chain link, like a chain link section. I can't get more complicated than that. But I learned that as a kid because I used to work
Mm.
I volunteered at this living history museum. And I always wanted to be with the boys. Like I wanted to do stuff like tinsmithing and blacksmithing. I didn't want to be quilting and cooking. And this day, I'm still the same. So I dressed up as a boy and they taught me how to blacksmith. And so I'd work on the special event days. So super fun. But they wouldn't let me blacksmith. They wouldn't let me touch the forge. I was like, oh, I mean, safety insurance, I get that. But I love that she was a blacksmith, and I love that she was such a surprise. Like the reveal of her was, yeah, she was really cool. And I didn't expect, like Nhan, I didn't expect people to love her as much as they did. So that's an honor. It's a real
Yeah.
honor.
Yeah. I'm starting to wonder like what other like brief careers you've had that we're going to see popping up in roles in the future. Like, is there going to be like, pastry chef Rachel, like showing up in like,
You never know. I don't
you
know. I
know,
think that's it. Like I
okay.
don't. But aren't all actors sort of like that? I mean, I think all creators are like that. Just get your nose in a bunch of things
Mm.
because you
Mhm.
never know where you're going to find inspiration. And
Mhm. Yeah,
so why not?
that's very true. I'm definitely like a multidisciplinary person, I have the novels and poetry and the thing and this and my art and all that jazz. So
You see?
it's, yeah, yeah. I think we all have to a greater or lesser degree, I think we all have a little bit of ADHD.
Listen, it's a big, beautiful world, and there's so many things to explore and learn, and I I love it. I sometimes I wish that there was less of, like this stuff and
Mm,
more of like out there exploring and
connecting and yeah, yeah.
yeah.
What's
Yeah.
is there any shiny thing that has been fascinating you lately?
Not particularly. No, I think because I've been working, I've been
Mm,
focused on that. So
right.
I and then my books. I'm building a little library. I It's not little. It's ridiculous.
No, no,
Uh,
talk about that.
it's I don't hoard a lot of things. I'm not a jewelry person. I'm not but I love shoes and I love books.
Okay.
And unfortunately, when you they were literally everywhere in our apartment, everywhere.
Mm,
And so my mate was like, you need to figure this out. So I passed a very special anniversary. Uh, I I feel weird. I quit smoking, which
oh,
was a big deal for me because I
congrats.
thank you very much. I felt like I was fighting it for a really long time, so I'm grateful.
Hmm.
And I said, when I save up a certain amount of money, I'm going to do my bookcases. So, hence the bookcases happening to
Mm,
celebrate that anniversary.
mm,
So,
mm.
yeah.
Well, I think that is a wonderful reward
Thank
for
you.
doing something that's very hard to do. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't as, yeah, it was tough. I really thought I'd get down to one or two a day and I'd try to kick it. So, but I'm done. Yeah, and I'm so grateful I got out. So,
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I did that about well, it's been a minute now, like 15 years ago. But yeah,
congratulations.
thanks.
Well,
And
people have said to me like it's the first if you can get through that first year because there's like Christmas, if you get stressed out, you get stressed out at Christmas and you're used to going out
mhm,
just to take that break. So it only happens once a year.
yep, yep,
So
yeah.
congratulations on
Thanks.
15.
Well, what was funny is like, a few years after I had stopped, like I found myself in some kind of social situation, and someone offered me one, and for whatever reason, maybe I'd had a couple of drinks or was whatever, but I said yes, and I took one drag, and I was like, this is disgusting, and put it down.
Good to know.
Yeah, yeah.
Congratulations. You're really lit.
Thanks.
Like never. Yeah.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Thanks. Yeah. Well, I mean, it is gross. And like, I think just when you get far enough away from it, you don't, you're able to perceive it more clearly.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
congratulations, because you're on that track now. And I honestly, as an author, I can't really think of a better gift to give yourself than a whole ton of books,
Right.
I have to say.
It's a happy place.
Mm,
So,
mm,
you know,
yeah. So I know you've been super busy. Have you read anything lately that you enjoyed?
I did actually. You know what? I reread because it had been a while, but I reread My Life with Cleopatra. And that is a really cool book for anyone who likes the sort of behind the scenes of film
Mhm,
and TV. So it was the producer
mhm,
that was on Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor's
mhm,
Cleopatra, the one that almost bankrupted the studio and
mhm.
was happening at the same time as Marilyn Monroe's final film, which was never completed. So it is, I love Hollywood circa the 50s. I'm enchanted by that time, even though it's got its super dark side. But to me, and especially because I grew up with my grandparents, I got exposed to a lot of those old films. So
Same.
it was such a good book. So I highly, highly recommend that. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's like behind the scenes drama kind of, or
Yeah, it's his diaries. So he would keep
oh.
journals of what was happening. So all the crises that were happening. Elizabeth Taylor getting sick, Eddie Fisher coming to visit Elizabeth Taylor, but she started this affair with Richard Burton. So it's like, it's the seediness of all of, the gossip of that actually happening, plus the drama with the budget, the change of scenery, like change of studios, change of sets, how much money that cost. I and I am a Marilyn Monroe fan. So, reading also, knowing her story back then of how she was feeling, well, Elizabeth Taylor's allowed to be sick all the time and I make the studio just as much money, and a lot of drama. I'm glad I'm not, I can read about, but not be involved with. And it's just such a fascinating time, in that history. And I love that stuff too, because it's, as I'm a fan of Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz, and I mean they created the 3-camera setup. I mean, learning that stuff about our industry is such a cool thing to know where that stuff comes from. So there you go. My long-winded answer.
No, I'm not timing you. It's fine. So I feel like there's a common thread among the roles that I've seen you in. Not that like you typecast yourself, but you do seem to like these kind of strong, kick-ass women. And anytime you get to do physical stuff, you seem to be really having a good time. Are you?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. It's funny. I think I maybe look like I'm kick-ass. I don't know that myself personally. I'm kick-ass. But I'll keep taking these characters. You want to keep giving me these characters? I absolutely will take them.
What is
And they're
what does that satisfy in you, do you think?
I think I play such serious characters too that in my real life I am super lighthearted, unless I lose my temper, like we all do. But like I like to laugh. I like people around me to laugh. If I can make people laugh, that's great. So I think it's like this dark, serious, tough side gets exercised in my professional life, and then I get to be this lighthearted, tree hugging, love yoga type of person in my real life. So
Live, laugh, love.
yeah, exactly. Come on.
Yeah,
Life's
no,
too
for sure.
short.
No, absolutely. I mean, I just, every time I think of that aspect of the roles that you do, like I just think of that scene where Nhan and Giorgio are fighting their way through to go confront Leland. And like you just look like you're having a ball.
Oh, come on. Look where I got to work, who I got to work with. And the cool thing is too with that scene as well, Alan Leland, my very first gig, it's like real job, was with him. He was one of the leads in the show. And so to come for full circle and get to work with him again, I don't think he remembers that, but I do, because I was so like, oh my God, what am I doing here? So
Wow. There seems to be if there's like a very meta theme going on here, is like that a lot of things seem to come back around for you.
that's good. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know quite what that means, but it's like, it's like this daisy that keeps coming back around to the center or
Oh, I
something.
like that. Or like sun flares. They
Yeah,
just
yeah. Uh, so do you still do any like visual art? Do you ever just like pick up a pencil and like draw something because you feel like it?
Sometimes not so much drawing now. I love being behind a camera. So I've photographed as a hobby for like 15 years now, just messing around. Sometimes I got into portraits for a bit with my mate. We tried weddings. Oh, horrible. Horrible. It's a high pressure job. I don't know how people do it. But I would love to do directing one day. I've done a few commercial directing bits for Woodbine Racetrack once upon a time, but I like being behind a camera. I like observing the world consciously in a different way. And it also gives you an excuse to sort of be watching things that maybe you'd look strange if you were watching. There's this picture I did. Well, I don't have it around, but there's this picture I did. We have this great art festival in Toronto in the fall, and it's called Nuit Blanche. And the whole city, there's art installations everywhere, and the city's up all night long. And so I was going through Dundas Square on my camera, and there was this homeless man. He was on the ground, and Dundas Square is like really busy. It's we have an X crosswalk there, and it's like a mini Times Square, I guess. And all these people around him, and I was walking backwards on the X through the intersection, and I snapped his picture because he's looking at all these people, and there's all these legs and all these feet around him, and no one saw him. No one looked at him. No one paid attention, and it broke my heart a little. So I've been enjoying, for the most part, really taking that perspective and observing in a different way. It's taught me a lot. It's getting a little emotional here. Sorry. It's humbled me as well. Yeah.
Well, I think that's important too, because I think a lot of what we do, and actually this is going to bring me to another question I wanted to ask. Like, what would you say is the sort of primary driver for you as a creative? Like, is there a unified theory behind all these ways that you choose to express yourself? Like, some people are trying to connect with other people. For some people, it's therapy. Like, what is it, do you think, for you?
That's a good question. I think it's a bit of both. Therapy, for sure. Pardon me. If I could, I think this is why I want to do comedy as well, or the serious characters that I do play. I want to be as kind to them as possible. As an actor, I feel like I owe it to them, because I want to be able to reach people in a meaningful way, not superficial. I want to be able to connect with people and improve their life in that 1 second or that 2 minutes. And so the very serious characters I've played have been very hard for me. And also because how do I give them, how can I as an actor inspire any sort of hope for people that are going through that situation? A police officer I played was suffering from bipolar. How do I do justice to the writers, the creators of that character, and what all these people want with that character? But how do I be kind to her and also be able to reach the people that are suffering from a mental illness or the stigma from that? So Marlo came to me very early in my career, and there are things that I would have done differently with her now as a more experienced actor. But at the same time, I think I still talk to people that were affected by her in a positive way. And so that means something to me. You know what I mean? That after all this 10 years, you know, and wow, I've still kept in touch with these people and they're doing well. And it's good. So
I love that. Well, you know, I wanted to talk about Marlowe actually because that's, you know, her story is pretty tough. You know, she goes through some suffering, and I wondered, was there something that you had to do to kind of protect yourself emotionally when you were doing that role?
Yeah, I'm not a method actor, and I get scared that if I were to ever entertain that I would get in far too deep. There's genius with that. Daniel Day-Lewis, Heath Ledger. I do have to keep distance. I do. I don't, but without sacrificing what I owe to that character and to the writers and to everybody that made that character. So there's moments with Marlowe where I'm like, oh, there's Rachel. That's not Marlowe, that's Rachel, you know? So I think that.
Almost like you let yourself come up for air at certain points.
Yeah, it's too, how do I describe this? It's like, I'll give you an analogy.
Okay.
There was this actor, I was in acting class once, and there was this actor, and he was lovely. And he was a black actor. And in this scene, he had to say the N-word. And I remember seeing on his face how hard it was for him to say it, and in the context, and you could see him come out of it a little bit. Like he could, and that is the best way I can describe with some of these characters when I know they're spiraling, is I can see those moments where I'm like, ooh, you know, he did it in acting class. I did it on film. So, I mean, I passed, yay! But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, I wondered about that because I know that her story was really difficult, and it seems like you do have to have some way of putting distance or taking a breath. Like, you know, some people will be like, okay, at the end of the day, I take off that costume, I take off those clothes, and I take off the character. And you know, you hear stuff like that, and it's really, you know, I think creatives in general, but particularly actors, have to have that some like distance, and sometimes when they're not completely vulnerable, to kind of recharge.
And the tricky thing is, and this is why I'm grateful I'm not in high school now and having to deal with social media and everything while being that young, is that even, yes, to take off that character was also tough too. And I didn't really get into it a lot with people because I didn't want to get into arguments at the time. But like, some of the fans were really mean. They were like, I cannot begin to even tell you the messages. And those outweighed the good ones that I got because they were so vile. So while it was my first, I remember someone saying, well, if she can't take it, she shouldn't have taken the job. And it's like, well, at the same time, when you're a young actor and you get your first lead, you're going to take the job. Like, these are people that don't have any concept of how hard it is to actually get.
Right. And, you know, I mean, why in the world would you expect to get a torrent of hate for that particular role? You know, I mean, it's an unfortunate thing, but for example, like, you know, when they hire an actor of color for like a comic book adaptation where the character was previously white, like that's a predictable situation where you know that the usual suspects are going to come out of the woodwork and do what they do. But there was nothing particularly about that role where you should have expected something like that, I don't think.
Well, they were saying because she was a character that came between the main couple, right? Now, listen, do I watch shows and do I have my favorites? Of course, everyone does, right? But I just was never one of those people that was like, I'm going to go and tell off that actor. I just never, I didn't know that was a thing. That sounds so naive, but I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah,
Until I
well,
did.
yeah, well, it's really, I mean, it's really unfortunate, but there's like this streak of just these insane parasocial relationships with fictional characters where they don't differentiate between the character and the actor, and
Yeah.
it just, I mean, whatever, I can go on about that all day. I mean, fan culture is a water that I swim in, and I love it there and everything, but there are limits.
Now, I have to say, in
Mhm,
saying that,
mhm,
the Trek fandom,
mhm.
holy smokes,
Uh,
talk about like a total
mhm,
180. I
mhm.
I've never felt love like this. That's insane. It's very heartwarming. So thank you.
Yeah.
I just have to say that because it's
Oh, well,
with the super negative, there's also the super positive, right?
yep, yep. And yeah, well, and I know, like, I heard the story about Anthony Rapp kind of saying to you, "Look, be prepared. People are going to love you," and you were like, "Huh?"
Yeah, like my first day, I just come out of a consultation with prosthetics, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" He was like, "Just wait." I had no idea.
Hmm.
Should have given him a crystal ball. Been like, "Are
Yeah,
you scrying? What are you doing there?"
yeah. Well,
Yeah, bless him.
yeah. Well, he didn't need a crystal ball because that's just what happens. Like, in general, the fandom just kind of embraces the characters they love, and once you're in there, you're family. You're part of that family.
Yeah,
Um,
and everyone, like every character, it's amazing. It's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. um there's definitely uh and I credit a lot of this to you too, is that you came in and gave her life in a way that people reacted to, so which seems to be something that you do a lot, so
Oh, she's pretty cool though, eh? Like,
well, I mean, I can't argue with that. I can't argue with that. Yeah, no, there's a fair bit of fair bit of fan fiction about her, um, and not all of it is even gross. So
really? I had no
yeah, yeah,
idea.
yeah,
Look at
yeah,
this. You're gonna have to
yeah,
send me the links to
yeah.
the good ones.
Okay, yeah, I'll find you some, 'cause,
I'll take a
uh,
read.
yeah,
Yeah.
I have friends that are really, again, really deeply into that world. I'm sort of adjacent, but I kind of see what's happening. But yeah, like, she's got, you have stands, Rachel, is what I'm saying.
Wow. What an honor.
Um, so what kind of, I know you mentioned you wanted to direct, like, what kind of stories do you think are going to be attractive to you? Or like, what kind of stories would you want to tell from behind that camera?
Uh, I like super lots of layers on story. I have been fascinated with Stanley Kubrick for so long. I am intrigued with him because I watched one of his films. Now I watched The Shining and
Mm,
then I watched it again. I got something different, watched
mhm,
it again. And I have probably watched it hundreds of times. I am obsessed with that movie. Then that happened with Eyes Wide Shut. And so like I am fascinated with how he's able to keep bringing a viewer back
mhm,
and without saying anything. And that's the beauty of it, is he doesn't say anything. So I've been studying his composition, his color theory.
mm,
I've been using Studio Binder. I've been learning so much from them. I love them. So all that visual arts training that I had that I thought I would never use is all come back. It's all composition, color theory, design elements. And so I am just eating this stuff up. So um it's whatever kind of I'm in on the hunt for a short film right now. I want a short film that I can direct. I'm also um there's a few artists I know that I'm talking to about music videos because
mm.
I love music. I use music a lot for my characters. That's one thing I use for my characters, is music, or if
Like,
there's a certain scenario.
mm.
Um,
You have playlists for your characters?
Some of them, yeah. That very first role that I did with Alan, it was on a show called King. I played an undercover police officer that was getting yanked out of for a drug bust. And I listened to a lot of Jimi Hendrix along the Watchtower. It was like the song because I was visioning where was Charlene before this happened? What was going on? And music, I love music. All kinds of music. Country's a little tough for me. I don't mind it. It's not the first genre I go to, but I do. I love all music. So
you gotta give props to Johnny Cash though.
That was a very generic statement, and I shouldn't have done that because I absolutely. I'm not heartless, you know.
Fair. Yeah, no, I mean, I would love to see like if you had made playlists for like Nhan or Maddie or like I feel like Maddie would have like not necessarily like country, but like some of that sort of raunchy kind of alternative country with like, you know, the feedback guitars and stuff. And
I mean, the theme song in itself for Wynonna Earp is enough for everyone. I was just seeing on my phone if I actually have the playlist from there, Marlowe. Lots for Marlowe. No. There's only certain characters. It's only certain, like I said, it's like I love music. I use it a lot, but some characters just I don't know. Stuff happens. Other ones I have to. So
you have to like create the mood board and
figure it out from just the dialogue, or I don't know. Yeah.
So I know that you are a big wildlife person. And particularly I see you post a lot of work about the horses, the Canadian Horse Defense. And now I'm learning that you actually have this connection with horses that goes back a long way. So how would you, in your ideal world, how would you like to see this mission fulfilled in terms of like, do you want legislation, or what do you want to see happen? Well, first of all, let me back up and sort of explain for people, or maybe you can explain for people who don't know the situation with what they're doing.
With live horse export in Canada, because it's illegal in the States, right? So American horses even get sent to Canada or Mexico, and where it's legal to do live horse export or live export. And live export in general is horrific. So I even though I am a big supporter of wildlife, I'm also I'm gonna just say it. No one get mad at me. I am a vegan, and I'm vegan for animals. And live export in general is horrific. This is a total other conversation, but I believe that animals do not have the protections that people believe they have. So, for example, exporting these horses, they're kept in crates outside. Doesn't matter what the weather is. I've seen them in blizzards, and I haven't seen them firsthand. It's and through my support of them. They often fly out of Winnipeg and Alberta, and they're left in crates on the tarmac. And there's tiny crates. They can't lie down. They can't move around. They're draft horses. Draft horses are gentle giants. It's such a betrayal to me that this is happening. And I had no idea this was happening. And it was another actress who you probably know from Wynonna Earp and tons of other stuff, Kate Drummond. And she was the first actor I saw doing this. And then Jane Arden. And I was like, what is this? And I loved their t-shirt. I was going to wear it. And I thought, I don't know if I should wear #horseshit on my chest, but it's a great conversation starter. And when I heard what was happening, and that has also snowballed into the wild horses in the States and the roundups that are still happening with wild horses. And this sounds ridiculous because I grew up with horses. I didn't realize there were still wild horses. How sad is that? It's so sad that I didn't even realize that's a thing. And the more I learn and the longer I am on this journey as a vegan, even, I have exposed myself to more of the stuff that I didn't see when I ate meat and really, listen, I'm not after people about their diets. I'm not after people about that. I am horrified at the lack of humanity we have for animals on this planet. In Ontario, they want to bring back caged hunting. That's so barbaric. Give animals a chance, Again, this is me not being against Indigenous practices. It's not, I am nobody to say anything about anybody's business, but I do strongly feel worldwide that we need to be more compassionate. And it is a reflection of our society, how we treat animals. And you can see how we're treating each other. And this has all got to change. So I, again, went on a total curve
no, because I asked you to go there.
Yeah.
Because I like it when, people get excited about stuff and talk about it. That's kind of what, we're here for.
And that's a thing too with horses. I'm sorry, just to take another second here. Mm-hmm. When my parents were splitting up, and it was a really messy situation, and the horses, especially we had a Welsh pony, Tinsel. She was great, sassafras, and she used to always give me a hard time all the time. It was just her thing. And when my parents were splitting up, I knew she could feel my pain. And she would just stand there and let me bury my face into her coat and just cry. And this is how I knew. This was my thing with law enforcement and horses and communities, because I'd experienced that firsthand. So people love animals, and we have been taught to think less of certain animals other than others. But that's like, all humans, we're all the same. It's animals, we're all the same. We're all part of this crazy planet. And if we just allowed ourselves to open up to that feel the love instead of this hate all the time, I think everyone would be so much happier. I'm for people being happy. And
yeah.
So
that's very, a friend of mine, a sci-fi author, has specifically gotten into doing a genre called hope punk. And that is a very hope punk sentiment that you've expressed there.
I want to know more about this. Please DM me and introduce. I'd love to know more.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So, did you bring anything for show and tell?
Okay. So with I owe you. Okay. I owe you. Because I can show you my badge. I can show you the back of my chair. I was so lucky. Trek gave me so many things. And also in this mess, I also have Maddie's overalls, the blacksmith, her overalls. And so here's the thing. We haven't set this up yet, but just if anyone is interested and you want to pass this along, I'm giving the overalls to Canadian Horse Defense, and they're going to auction them off, and funds will go towards them. And then I'm going to sign a personal card to whoever buys them with an illustration of Maddie wearing those overalls on the front. But my place is a disaster, because I thought, I can do the bookcases in 2 days. It's cute, but not at all accurate. So I apologize, Jen. I owe you. I will send you pictures.
Your reach exceeded your grasp. It's okay.
So it was ridiculous.
But that's a fantastic use of that prop and your capital, which is, which I really do appreciate. Is there a link for that? Is that up and happening, that giveaway?
Not yet, because
Okay.
Teresa, the lovely gal I'm dealing with at Canadian Horse Defense, she's also fostering a bunch of kittens right now. So she's like, and I know what
Handful.
that's like because we have some rescues, and it's too much. It's a
Mhm.
lot.
Mhm.
So I will definitely let you know, and I'll definitely post it on social too when that happens
Okay.
as well.
Okay.
Yeah, they're very comfy overalls. I have to say, I had a lot of layers underneath. They're roomy. They're
Mm,
very cool.
excellent. All right. So we're coming up on time. So as I usually do, we're gonna do some lightning round questions.
Ooh. Okay.
Okay, ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Which of your characters, the various characters that you've played, would you rather have with you in the following situations? Okay. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Dinner at Buckingham Palace.
Oh. Let's bring Commander Nhan because she's interesting. Sparks conversation.
Okay. Trapped on a desert island.
Oh. Trapped on a desert island. Let's bring Maddie. Yeah.
Okay.
She's cool, handy.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. At a table in a boardroom full of lawyers.
Ooh, Killjoy's character, Warden Renica.
Yes.
Boom.
Boom. Thrown back in time to a town in the Old West.
I'm gonna bring Commander Nhan again. Handy with that phaser. Can she bring the
Mm.
phaser? If she can bring the phaser, we're in.
We'll say she can bring the phaser. All right.
Done.
Okay. Um, on the line in a haute cuisine French kitchen.
On the line, so we're
Yeah,
cooking
like so.
together.
Yeah, you're cooking together. You're both chefs in this fast-paced, high-pressure French kitchen.
Okay, there's a character that not a lot of people know.
Okay.
I don't even remember her first name. Alicia,
Mhm.
from The Art of War, because she was a sort of a tough ass and she was very.
Mm.
So let's
Mm.
do her because I think she'd be very. Yeah.
Dig it. In a prison riot.
Oh. Oh, I was gonna say Warden Renica, but
That's
that
yeah.
didn't turn out so well for her.
No, it didn't.
No, we're gonna bring Commander Nhan again. I mean,
All
she's
right.
just. Yeah.
Okay. Last one. Ready?
Yeah.
At a high-stakes blackjack table.
Marlo.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
Why Marlowe?
Because she had bipolar for so long. When she's like in control, she's in control and you can't read her.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Who'd you think I was going to pick?
I wasn't sure. I thought maybe you might go with Warden.
Interesting. Greta also would have been interesting
Hmm.
because she,
Yeah. Interesting that Greta didn't show up here at all.
at all.
She
I
wasn't.
kind of feel like I needed to see which character. I forget some of them now.
Okay. Now, would you take Greta if you found yourself on a pirate ship?
No, I take Maddie.
Mm.
Greta's a little too temperamental. She's a
Mm.
little wild card.
Mm.
Maddie's like consistent
Yeah.
and she's handy and
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
do cool stuff.
Yeah. Cool. No, I dig that. That's a valid response. Um, yeah, so I'm gonna do a quick sign off, and then whatever we can chat for a second.
Sure.
Um, but that has been our show, you beautiful nerds. Thank you for listening and watching. Check out the links in the description to follow Rachel's Insta and keep up with all the amazing things she's up to. If you haven't watched Wynonna Earp and Star Trek Discovery and Killjoys, for gosh sakes, go do it. What are you doing with your life right now? And as ever, the Geek Girls have all the goodies for you. So for best results, insert in brain. Take care, take it easy, and stay geeky.